We're going to go ahead and get started here. Stuart, Nancy, if you can tell the people how time come on in here and you keep going. We'll stay on time. Anyway, we're going to stay on track. I'm going to go ahead and get started. People get started. You put them out there. So, what can I say about Holly Ervine? She's tenacious, resilient, AORN advocate. She has been, she and her mother both have been great advocates for the state of Georgia in perioperative nursing. She has been our recent past president of AORN, which is a feat unto itself, and served very well. She's also been chair of her council here and also been chapter president of Northwest Georgia. So she's highly involved with legislative issues, with our smoke evacuation. We were together lobbying with legislators and knocking on doors and talking about smoke evacuation for several years, and she is a huge part of that. So truly another educator, which is dear to my heart, but I really want you to welcome Holly to the podium here. She is currently working at Wellstar, and she is a great asset to all new and experienced nurses alike in programming education for all of our nurses there. So please welcome Holly Ervine.
So today I'm going to talk about leading with empathy. And before we kind of get into that, I wanted everybody to do this empathy quiz. It was created by the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley, and it is being used with their permission. So if everybody's good, has everybody gotten the quiz loaded? No? Okay. I'll wait. Well, I had music. It already ran down. Yeah. Well, we don't have 10 minutes, so. Just everybody got it loaded now? No? Okay. How about this? Stand up if you don't have it loaded and sit down when it's loaded, and that way I know that I can move on. I've only got one person standing. I've got 2 people standing. I've got 4. I got 5. That helps me know who doesn't have it loaded yet. Just when you finish the quiz, just remember your score. It's either going to be low, moderate, or high. You have to like skip the advertisement, and then you have to accept the cookies, take the quiz. Yeah, skip the advertisement, accept all the cookies. All right, everybody's seated, so I'm assuming that everybody's got it loaded. All right. So there's a lady named Lorraine Harriton. She's the president and CEO of Catalyst Learning. And one of the things that she said is that the pandemic really taught us that it is very critical for leaders to be empathetic and to have an inclusive environment in their workplace culture. And so that's kind of how we got started talking about empathy. And I don't know, I don't want to tell my age, but I really don't care about telling my age. I'm 55 years old. One of the books that I remember reading probably when I was in my 20s and my husband and I were dating was Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It's one of my favorite books. But this first video, it's really about empathy and how men and women communicate.
turn it on, and like literally feel it in my head, and it's like,
Are you sure?
stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out the way the nails are.
You always do this. You always try to fix things when it really needs to, you just listen.
See, I don't. Get the nails.
You're not listening now.
Okay, fine. I was fine.
Sometimes it's like, there's an aching. I don't know what it is. Oh, so it's just not, we all.
Come on, if you would just.
Anybody have that kind of same thing going on with your spouse, right? Quit trying to fix it. So what is empathy? Empathy is the ability to sense other people's emotions. It's coupled with the ability to imagine what someone else might be thinking or feeling. Research suggests that empathetic people tend to be more generous and concerned with others' welfares, and they also tend to have happier relationships and greater personal well-being. Empathy can also improve your leadership ability and facilitate effective communication within your team. It's more than just professionalism and courtesy, it's a connection. How do you connect with the people that you're working around and working with, working for? And it's your ability to identify and understand their thoughts, their perspectives, and their emotions. But it's also a way of demonstrating understanding with intention, care, and concern. So the question that I have for you, based on that skill, how empathetic are you? So you can take this QR code, we'll take you to my poll everywhere, or you can go to pollev.com/HollyErvine022. So let's see how empathetic you are. And I will tell y'all, full transparency, when I first took it, I actually scored low. I don't know where I was in my headspace going on, but I actually scored low. So that's one of the things that I was like, okay, well, now that I've scored low, how am I going to become more empathetic, and how am I going to demonstrate that empathy? Is the QR code working? I mean, I'm thinking it is. Say it again. It's too far away. Okay. pollev.com/HollyErvine022. I mean, y'all can come down. I can't help it that y'all are good Baptists and all want to sit in the back. We're going to pass the plate in a little bit after we finish eating. Got some moderate. Don't leave me hanging out there by myself as a low person now. There has to be somebody else that's low with me. All right, has everybody gotten into it? No, I've got some no's, got some yeses. All right, I'm gonna, in the interest of time, I'm just gonna move on. Okay, so people that have a low level of empathy, they just don't have a strong ability to sense other people's emotions. They may be relatively unaffected by other people's emotional state and may not usually feel moved to intervene when people show signs of distress. If you're one of those that was a moderate, you have the ability to put yourself in other people's shoes and you can imagine what they might be thinking or feeling, but showing empathy can actually increase feelings of personal distress when you encounter suffering, which can prevent you from providing the effective support that that other person may be needing at the time. For those that have a high level of empathy, you have the strong ability to sense other people's emotions, and that means that other people's feelings and emotions can become contagious for you. So if they seem happy, you feel happy. If they're afraid, you're afraid. If they're suffering, you feel their pain. Your ability to sense others' emotional states may also make you feel concerned about their welfare and more likely to want to help them when they are distressed. Back when I was on the board for AORN, one of the books that we had to read was Brene Brown. Now, I don't highly suggest reading her book because it's like, it makes your eyes bleed. It's very dry, it's very overwhelming, but she has some really, really great TED Talks. So I really like listening to her. I just don't like reading her books. That's just me speaking for myself. Somebody else might like her book. But this video, it really gives us a great understanding of what empathy is. So let's take a look. Okay. So why is the sound not playing? Hold that thought. I don't know why the sound's not playing because the volume is up. We heard the sound on the last video, right? Okay, where's my IT support person? Let's see. It's all working to me. All right. Hold that thought. We'll just go out to the internet and play it from the internet. Hopefully that'll show. It's okay. It's all the way up. It wasn't playing, so it's okay.
I was going to say this one for Ervine for a brand new car.
I went out the window.
Yes.
It's all the way up. Okay.
So what is empathy and why is it very different from empathy? Empathy fuels connection. Empathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Ruth Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy was relevant, and he came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective of their truth. Staying out of judgment, not using the enjoy the emotion of the feeling. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space where someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say,
Hold on. I'm just realizing that y'all aren't seeing that.
and then we look and we say,
Hold on. Are y'all not? Hold on. Okay, we're gonna do this again. All right, sorry.
So what is empathy and why is it very different from sympathy?
Just trying to
Empathy
minimize it.
fuels connection, sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and he has 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize the perspective of their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as much as here. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space where someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, I'm down. I know what it's like down here. And you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, huh? No. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with athletes. I have it, yeah. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us. It's incredibly painful. And we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's her, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining in that. So I had a miscarriage. At least you know. I think your marriage is falling apart. At least we have a marriage. Jonathan took out of school. He's here with an AC. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is to try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'm going to say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just surprised. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
And so really, that's what, dun dun. There we go. Okay. Let's go back to this. And okay, well, that's fun. All right, let's just skip past all that. Okay, so I mean, that's really what leadership is about, right? I mean, yes, you have to be a good leader, but being that leader is all about connection. And in order to have that connection, we have to have that empathy trait. Sympathy is typically defined by feelings of pity for another person without really understanding what it's like in their situation. It drives disconnection. That's why Dr. Brown was saying that sympathy drives that disconnection. Empathy refers to the capacity or ability to imagine oneself in the situation of another and experiencing the emotions, ideas, and opinions of that person. It fuels a connection. 4 qualities of empathy are perspective taking, staying out of judgment, recognizing emotion in people, communicating that emotion. So as perioperative nurses, as perioperative leaders, or even if you are a bedside nurse, what one do you think is the most difficult? Staying out of judgment. I remember being, when I was a staff nurse and being called in, and I'm sure there's a lot of you in here that can empathize with this story of being called in at 2 o'clock in the morning because someone had something stuck in their rectum. What are we doing as we're driving into the hospital? We're all into judgment. What in the world? Why would they do this? What is it? How long is this going to take to get it out? Right? And so how does that change? if you become a leader, or if you're continuing to stay at the bedside, that's one of the hardest parts of being empathetic, is staying out of judgment. The next part of empathy is choosing to feel, because that's really the great equalizer for all of us in healthcare. We choose to feel with the people at their point of pain, and that's what connects us, or at least it should, depending on where your level of empathy is. But what are some of those benefits of being empathetic? As a leader, the first benefit of empathy is that it can encourage innovation and productivity within your team. Because if your team feels like they are being seen, they are being heard, and their opinions are valued, then they're going to feel free of drama. They're going to not have the fear that you're going to judge them in the work that they're trying to do, and then they can do their best creative work. The next benefit of empathy is that it boosts employee engagement. And this matters because disengagement leads to more absenteeism, lost productivity, errors, and your turnover. I love working long hours, feeling disrespected and misunderstood, said no high performer ever. Many employees feel more highly engaged in an empathetic, responsive environment, and many employees view lifestyle benefits such as paid family leave, flexible work hours, having a boss that they can go to and talk to, as having being in an empathetic environment where they can feel understood. If you treat them right and give them a voice, just stand back and watch what happens, because your productivity is going to go up. Another one is that an empathetic culture is attracting top talent over your competitors, kind of like drawing bees into a honeycomb. In today's environment, it demands that we have a new type of culture that's based on respect, empathy, and diversity. Even though, where's Emma? Even though Emma said it right, we are a family, right? And that's what people want. They want that family environment. As dysfunctional as it may be, they still want that family environment. They want that work family. And if they're smart enough to realize that they're spending the bulk of their time at work, so it better be a place where they feel like they belong. Your ability as a leader to attract and retain top-down talent has less to do with free lunches and more to do with how well you understand the people that are working for you. If you put people first, the profits are going to follow. And that's actually the next part of it. Empathy boosts your bottom line. Many CEOs now link empathy to financial performance. Happy employees mean happy customers. Companies that act with empathy towards their employees, their customers, and their community are unfortunately very rare. But those that have that empathetic environment, they're the ones that stand out and get people talking. It is in your best interest, in your company's best interest, to embrace empathetic leadership to create a thriving culture and customer experience. You want to be the leader that everybody wants to work for. But before we can extend empathy to others, we must first learn to find empathy within ourselves. And this process involves connecting with our inner world, understanding our own thoughts and feelings, and using that understanding to create positive change. Peter Crone once said that life will present you with people and circumstances to reveal where you are not free. This statement is a powerful reminder that our relationships can often expose our own limitations and challenges. But by finding empathy within ourselves, we can begin to understand where we are not free and take steps to improve ourselves. So what is empathetic leadership? It was once thought of as a warm and fuzzy soft skill, but empathy is no more just a nice to have. It's now imperative in business. Empathetic leadership is a style of leadership that focuses on identifying with others and understanding their point of view. Empathetic leaders take a genuine interest and they want to understand why people are the way they are. It helps them become great leaders and who are able to connect with many different types of people, and they can adapt their style depending on who they are interacting with. The number one trait of an empathetic leader is, of course, empathy. It's the ability to not only see others' emotions, but to feel them as well. Empathy is your ability to feel others' pain, but compassion is your desire to act on it and relieve their suffering. Think of empathy as a data gathering tool, while compassion is putting what you've learned into practice. Emotional intelligence is another trait, and also having some flexibility. But how do we become more empathetic? Well, the first one is just practice active listening. How many times have you sat down with an employee, or if you're one of the staff nurses, you sat down with a leader and you're trying to have a conversation and they're on their phone, or they're answering emails, or they're looking at their watch? That's not active listening. When I was a manager, if someone came in and said, "Hey, Holly, I need to talk to you," if I didn't have time, I was transparent and said, "Hey, it's not a good time right now. Can I get back with you before the end of the day? Can I pull you back in at 1 o'clock? If I had time, I actually would push my chair back from my desk. I would invite them to sit down, and we would sit knee to knee so that I could have that eye-to-eye experience. My phone could ring, my computer could chirp, and it didn't matter because I was in the moment. And I was just really active listening to what they were saying. And we've all learned that during nursing school. How do we show that we're active listening? We ask questions. We paraphrase what they're saying. It's the same thing we would do with our patients. We're doing it with our colleagues and our staff. The next one is to share in other people's joy, because empathy is not just about communicating and commiserating. It's really about being joyful. When I got the flyer after they had said, "Yes, we accepted your abstract," and I saw that Emma was presenting, I was joyful. I love Emma. I've known Emma probably going on, I think probably 7 or 8 years. She was one of my periop students. I've seen her on the stage. And so just sharing that joy and saying, "Hey, I'm so excited to see you. I'm so excited you're going to do great." Having that enthusiasm for somebody else is showing empathy and building your empathy skills. The next one is, how many people remember doing these types of activities as a kid? It's not about looking for what's different. It's what is the same? What are our commonalities? How can we connect? Because if you and I can connect, not on what we have different, but what we have that's the same, that's how we can learn to be more empathetic by showing someone, "Hey, we're not different. We actually have a lot of commonalities in what we're going through." Whether it's at work, whether it's at home, we share those commonalities. The next one, this one, when I was doing some research on this, and one of the papers that I read, it said if you read and get into fiction, it helps build your empathy skills because you're getting into someone else's story. You're learning to have a connection with the characters in the book. So this actually made me go and renew my library card. So I've been a little library nerd and been checking out books. And if you live here in the state of Georgia, you can actually take your library card and connect it to Libby if you'd rather read on your Kindle. But there's something about reading those library books and getting the smell of the old books So just reading and being fully immersive into another environment is really a way to build your empathy skill. The next one, and if you guys have ever heard my How to Lead When You're Not in Charge about fixing your face, pay attention to the person's faces, because like just standing here looking at you, I can tell who's bored, I can tell who's engaged, I can tell who's on their phone. So paying attention to faces. One of the things that the Greater Good Science Center says is that that their quiz, it gauges your ability to read other people's expression, and that can be used to actually improve one of your skills of emotional intelligence and also build your empathy skills, which is kind of what leads me into how do you become a more empathetic leader. And it's back to, you know, not having those distractions. Be where your feet are planted. Be right there. Be in the moment. You might be running through your grocery list of, hey, I need to stop at this store and I got to go to Kroger and then I need to stop and get gas. But you're not really being present and being with them in that moment with what they're going through. If you feel constantly scattered and preoccupied, you're not going to have capacity to take on what someone else is feeling. So you will be defensive and reactive rather than showing compassion to them. You also want to watch for signs of burnout. And boy, didn't this happen during COVID, right? When we were all working multiple hours, we were not at home as much as we wanted to. And that's one of the ways that you can increase your empathy in the workplace is watch for signs and symptoms of burnout in others. If you are skilled at empathetic leadership, you're able to recognize these signs and symptoms of overwork before they become an issue and before it causes something dramatic to happen, such as a safety error. The next one is to be curious. Be genuinely curious about someone else, what beliefs they hold, how they see a situation. Really try to understand their perspective and where they're coming from. Because if you're better able to understand, then it can help guide you to how to motivate them, and it can also drive that connection with them. And you want to actively listening, and this is one of the things that we've already kind of talked about, so I'm going to breeze through that, but just be present in the moment. Put your phone down, get away from the distractions. And one of the phrases that I like the most is tell me more. Just if you're wanting to really have that connection with the person, tell me more is a way to get them to continue to talk to you about what's going on, because it makes them feel heard, it lowers their defenses, and it really enables you to work to really get to what's going on with them. The next one is to show sincere interest in the needs, the hopes, and dreams of others. And one of the things that we've done at Wellstar is that we have to create a developmental goal, and we have to update those every year. And one of the ways that my leader helps me is that she wants to sit and talk about what are your dreams, what are your hopes, where do you see yourself next year? And she truly listens and helps to guide what it is that I want to do and how can I get there. And that's another one of those how to lead when you're not in charge. You have to have that map. You have to have that plan. If you're here and you know you want to go here, how are you going to get there? And as a leader, you want to help the person reach their goals, reach their dreams. And the only way to do that is to show a sincere interest in what their dreams and what their hope is. The next one is to get in the trenches with them. Put on your scrubs, put on your hat, put on your mask, and get in the back. Look for the barriers. What are causing some hiccups in your day-to-day operations? What are some of the barriers that your staff are facing? What barriers can you remove not a month from now, not 6 months from now, but in the immediate. What can you call, if you're the director, pull your manager in, pull your charge nurse in and say, here, this is a problem and we need to fix this, not tomorrow, we need to fix this today. What can we do? And then be sincere in listening to their solutions and come up with something that's going to be better for the staff. What do your employees need to be successful? Have those conversations with them. What's causing you to not have a successful day? What are some of the barriers that you're facing? Getting in the trenches is never a waste of time. Leadership is all about empathy. It's about having the ability to relate and connect with the people for the purpose of inspiring and empowering their lives. You have to be able to demonstrate a willingness to help them with a personal problem. I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to cry, but that was one of my first phone calls last week. And those who know, it was, my boss was one, I think she was probably the third call that I made because I knew that she would help me. The next one is to show compassion. Empathetic leaders are compassionate, and they extend grace to others. Real connections and friendships at work matter. And that's really tough, I guess, for me, because as a staff nurse, I always said to people, I got friends. I got friends at home. I don't necessarily need friends here. If I make friends, great. If I don't, whatever. And that's probably why I have a low empathy score, because I don't look in my team for that friendship. I have that friendships now. I didn't necessarily do that when I was a staff nurse. Empathy is your ability to feel others' pain, but compassion is your desire to act on it and relieve their suffering. So we're going to go back to this slide and we're going to add point number 4, because compassion goes beyond mere emotion. It includes an active intention to help. This is actually a graph from the Potential Project, and it shows how compassion is actually that higher skill than empathy. At the bottom left, we have pity, which is, I feel sorry for you. And then a step up from that is sympathy. Well, I feel for you. You're going through that. That kind of sucks. But empathy is feeling with that person, understanding what they're going through. But the compassion is, I am actually here to help. And the fact is, unless we know what another person is going through, our coworkers, our leaders, our council, our chapter members, the people sitting right next to us in this room, we don't know what they're going through unless they tell us. So just keep that in mind as we watch this video. How many of you have seen that video before? It gets me every time. Like especially the little girl going in to say bye to her dad. I just like, I can't. The last skill is that you just have to practice. Strengthening your empathy takes time. You don't go to the gym and instantly get fit, at least I don't. You have to work at it. Know that practicing empathy may feel forced and uncomfortable at first, but just like going to the gym for the first time in a while, you might be sore, and that's okay. You may constantly work at it and mess up and not get it right, and that's okay too. The more practice you put in, the better you're going to get at it until empathy becomes just how you operate, and you're going to get great results as a leader. The one that I encourage you to start with is just practicing presence, being right there, being in the moment. Getting yourself grounded is the key to seeing other people's perspectives with a sense of curiosity instead of fear. And don't be scared to share with your team that you're working on this valuable tool, because it holds you accountable, it encourages real-time feedback, and invites others to improve their skills as well. The impact that you have is like this drop in the water and how it ripples out to others. The impact of the rock creates a ripple effect across the entire pond until those ripples reach the edge of the water. It can be a beautiful experience, and it also illustrates how our actions affect other people. When we display love and kindness to others, that feeling ripples out to people in our inner circle and perhaps beyond it. As a leader, when we extend empathy to others, we are creating a more positive and productive work environment for our team as well as for ourselves. So I thank you for your attention. This is my contact information if anybody needs it. I think everybody pretty much knows how to get in touch with me. If you don't, just find me and I'll give you my number. But there it is, live and on the screen. I have references if anybody wants those, but thank you.